Welcome to Vibrant Living Conversations. I'm your host, Gemma. As a life coach to midlife mamas and women, I'm excited to bring these conversations from North Idaho and across this region to support you on your journey to vibrant living, glowing from the inside out, fully living in your own true to you power. Welcome to Vibrant Living Conversations. I'm your host, Gemma. For this interview, I am talking with Torey Routson of Release Float Spa in Post Falls. I've floated a few times now, and the sensory deprivation is such a calming experience away from the overstimulated world that we're all living in. So I'm thrilled to have Torey here to tell us more and share her insights on finding Zen in the midst of a busy life. So thanks, Torey. Thanks for joining me.
Of course. Hi.
Hi, yay. So let's dive in. First of all, for people that haven't heard about float spa, what is your elevator description of float therapy, sensory deprivation, if I can get that off my tongue?
I would say as little as possible, just because it can go on, and I have a tendency to do that. It is where an individual or individuals float in 10 to 12 inches of water with about 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of epsom salt, depending on the vessel, the size of the space that you're floating in. And while you're doing that, you're so buoyant that you are in a zero gravity environment, essentially. And that then goes to allow your body to have no stress on any of your main joints, like the things that everybody can probably say at least once a day, like, oh, my knee, oh, my ankle, oh, my back. And so it just takes you into that zero gravity environment. So there's no extra stress. And then that's probably the most simple way to say it. It's just you literally are getting in 10 inches of water and then you float and you don't have to try. There's no effort. You can just let it all go.
I love that. It's like a magical bath, right?
Yes, pretty much. Yes, that's actually how I explain it to people on the phone who can't really conceptualize it. I just say it's literally like a glorified bathtub, but cleaner and it has a ceiling and four walls and a door.
Kind of
So
like
you
feel like
can,
you're going to space as well, but
yes, people have compared it to be floating in the middle of the ocean, being in space, or in their mother's womb. That is definitely the top three consistent relations that people have said over and over and over again. And without talking to each other, it's just, coming out, how was your flow? And they're like, I felt like I was in the middle of the ocean.
fascinating. That is interesting. Yeah, that makes a
And
lot of
so,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, the sensor deprivation aspect of it. So obviously, you don't have the physical sense of the weight of your body because gravity, we all have to follow that rule. So that takes the physical senses away. So when you're in there, the water is body temperature. So you feel neutral. You don't feel too hot, too cold. You don't feel the weight of your body. And then once the starlights that I have, not all float vessels have them, but my rooms have starlights and tub lights, and they also play music. So that's obviously auditory stimulation and visual stimulation. Really, really simplified though, compared to what we're used to, like the sunlight, the blinds, the light in this
Yeah.
room, and I'm looking at a laptop. So all of those different things that we're taking in that information. And when you eliminate pretty much, I'd say 99% of that, and you just have your starlights when you get in the float room and some calming music to help bring you down and wind down and look within, feel your body, stuff like that. That will then get you to a mindset of, okay, I don't have to be in fight or flight mode. My body doesn't have to regulate any part of itself. So you can actually just truly let it go. Let all your thoughts go. If you are a person that has a lot racing thoughts or
Yeah.
anxiety, ADHD, ADD, stuff like that, it actually is something that would really help those people because they are constantly or more than average taking in a lot of external stimuli to where it's overwhelming to a part of their body. And that's why they behave a particular way. But when you're taking away all of these things, it basically gives your brain a nap.
Yeah.
All of those synapses in your brain that are making the like, okay, I touched my glass, it's cold. Like that's a message in your brain. And so nothing like that could happen in there when you are feeling neutral, so to
Right.
speak.
I've never thought of it like that. It's like a full body meditation. Really, you're being
Yeah.
supported in that yeah, you can't focus on other things. I mean, the racing mind, that's,
Mhm.
we were talking just before this about the Western lifestyle and how it is overstimulating. And there is just
Mhm.
always something to be taken care of. And where am I going to be next? And how could have I done that better? But blah, 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 whether you're living in the past or the future. And that racing mind is such a thing that I'm sure both of us here are hearing about. So it's nice to be able to say, come, like, be in this
Yeah.
scenario where you can just put it all aside for a while.
Yes. That is a common comment that people, I wouldn't say actually as common, luckily. So that's really good for me. But when people come out and they're like, I couldn't get my mind to shut off, I think it's probably just what's happening externally in your life. Did your sister just have a baby, or did you just start a new job? So you're really learning a lot. Did
Right.
you just like have a big move, or do you have a grocery list the size of your favorite long book? Like,
Right.
to think about afterwards. And so I think the more that you do float and put yourself in that sort of environment where your body and mind can be at peace and not in a constant thought to thought to thought, or I have to do this and this and this and this, you actually don't. You get an hour to yourself. You are doing this for you, and then you gain some self-respect and some self-discipline with like wanting to do it again and put yourself in that environment, because we don't really have a lot of options when it comes to a sensory deprived environment in our world,
Yeah.
like going out in public and finding one of those, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
definitely think the more you float, or the more you meditate, or the more you do yoga, or the more you do any sort of
Yeah.
therapy
Yeah.
like that. I guess you don't have to use the word therapy, but modality, maybe that's
Right.
a better word. The easier it's going to be for your body to remember what it's like. So
But how did you get into this? How did you, because this is the only float spa in northern Idaho, right? How did you
yeah.
get into the business of owning the spa and advocating for float therapy? I like modality. That's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
So it actually kind of came into my life shortly after we had Merely. And so with the old owner, I'm the second owner of the float
Okay.
spa. So I was not the one to build it out and make it to what it is, but back in 2022, so I've almost owned it, coming up on 2 years.
Nice.
But back in 2022, I was approached by the old owner, and she, laid it all out. We did the boring book stuff, look at numbers, look at expectations, and like how to actually run a float spa.
Right.
And I just took the leap because there was others in my life saying like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. How many, oh gosh, I can't remember how old I am. How many 20 something year olds get to walk into a successful, thriving business in an industry that's growing? And
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, what could go wrong? Like, I totally know what I'm doing. So I hopped on a little train going to a question mark, and I just did my absolute best to trust the process, which I can say is getting a lot easier now.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Wow.
So
What have your
I definitely
experiences been with floating yourself?
So actually, back when the float spot opened in 2019 from the prior owner, I signed up for the membership like before she opened, and I started floating. That's the first time I had ever not heard of it, but that's the first time I ever tried it.
Right.
And and then I really enjoyed it. I noticed it helped with my anxiety immediately, elevated mood for sure, boost of energy,
Mm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which I would say some may think I don't need because I'm always buzzing around, but it really does help quiet the mind and calm those evil little, I don't know, chicken nuggets, the evil chicken nuggets that won't stop talking
What is
in
it?
the back of your head. And so I can first and foremost say those are definitely immediate effects from just floating for the first time.
Nice. So that, which is such a fun, like, yes, you were approached with an awesome business, but a business that you believe in and obviously you're passionate about and you can advocate for. And I know
Mhm.
through some of our other conversations, the people that you're meeting and how you're watching them feel supported and feeling the benefits of it. Like, I'm getting chills because I love that. Like, being able to be in a business where you're like, you can easily sell. I hate that word, but you can easily
Yeah.
be like, look, this is awesome. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
everyone come and have this experience?
I don't really think it's a hard sell if they understand what they're going to get out of it, because
Okay.
that's obviously how humans operate. Like, what value does this bring into my life?
Right.
And once you realize that you yourself are the value, like you need to value yourself, that's where we need to start. then things can take a turn. Because if you don't value yourself, you don't have any self-respect, you don't have any self-discipline or something that's just for you, not for anybody else,
Right.
then we just have to start there. There's no then and but or and. It's just we start with you. You have to want to do it. Or in other cases, there's been people who are like, I really want to get this for my partner or my best friend or my cousin. I think they're really going to like it. It's just a birthday gift or, an anniversary gift or whatever it is. And they come in and they absolutely love it. And so also making sure you surround yourself with people who understand you and know where you're at in life and know what you would find valuable or not, and be willing to pay money to maybe get you to just the first step, because it just takes one step.
Yeah, no,
And
for
so,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
for
what
sure.
I would definitely say.
Well, and I think believing, oh, I love that. It's like such the golden nugget there is taking the time for you, taking
Yeah.
time to see yourself, give yourself the space to how it's an hour long, right? Why don't I remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 60 minutes is the shortest one I do. Not everybody can that stays in there the whole 60 minutes.
Okay.
Some people actually do come in just to use it for the physical benefits of it. It's like limited inflammation, increased blood flow, so the healing process can jumpstart and just be a bit more effective. Um, and so they will stay in for like 45 minutes
Okay.
compared to
Gotcha.
60. Just
What is is there longer sessions?
yes, 90 minutes. And then I do 2 hour floats as well. They're just not usually as popular, but yeah, 60, 90, and 2 hours.
Okay, nice. Which is probably like anything, build up to it, right? You're not going to dive in there for two
Absolutely.
hours. You'll be like,
Yeah,
maybe
I
done.
have a couple of times had people float for the first time for 90 minutes, and they were like, I really think I'm gonna like it. I don't think an hour is gonna be long enough. I really need this. So let's just pull the plug and do it. And so, and they've had a wonderful experience. There was no negative side effects or
Nice.
anything. So
Yeah. And I look, because I mean, I've had some clients, they've either been told that they're selfish in their life or they've received information from the world that tells them that they're selfish. They should be giving to everyone else, like taking an hour, even just an hour, never mind it any longer for themselves, is not something that's appropriate and they're not worthy of, right? So I mean, it's just like this basis of humanity that we are worthy, we get to take that time, but it's also not a belief system that's instilled in us in our society. So
yes. And I would call those just boundaries. There are human beings that have them and there are humans that don't.
right.
And if you don't have them, how happy are you?
Right. Yeah, if you just feel like your worthiness is by giving, thinking, planning for everyone else, doing for everyone else. Like, you're the ones right now that are like, oh, I want this so badly, but I can't. But you should.
But I can't, but I should.
And not even should, because should is like so laden with like, bleh. But everything that we were saying before to like coming back to yourself, allowing yourself to get rid of all of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas and lie in this bathtub. And it's bathtub doesn't give it justice because it's this beautiful like oval. Are they ovals? I guess they're kind of ovals, right?
They're like rectangles, but with round corners.
There we go.
Like a rounded rectangle is what I'd say. Just based off of the measurements of it, it's like technically a rectangle.
So this is random, but what's the tallest person that you've had in there? Like, is like a 7-foot person like comfortable in it, or is that kind of like, yeah, okay.
Yes, yeah. So I know I asked somebody recently and I just hoped that they weren't uncomfortable about it. I was like, how tall are you? I just want to know. Like you're not gonna leave for it or whatever. But I think he said he was 7'2".
Oh wow. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like 5'1", so of course I fit in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
I like to lie with like my hands up next to my head. Sometimes I put them behind my head because the head is the one thing that tends to like flop for me. I'm like, this isn't that comfortable. But if I put them behind my head, I'm like, this is great.
No, yes, absolutely. I always say if you're like are a back sleeper, how do you sleep? And just do that when you're floating, because I am a back sleeper and I always cross my ankles. And so I cross my ankles when I float. And yesterday I floated last night. I put my arms up and then I put them down. I just didn't know. I was really fidgety yesterday, but I am about to go on a trip. So that's probably like all the things like, what do I need to pack?
Yeah.
Probably why I'm moving around so much. But once you find a position that you're like that I feel you sleep in. I think that's the easiest way for people to get comfortable because they can just immediately think of themselves in bed. I don't
Yeah. So
know.
what do you say to the front sleepers?
I say don't lay on your belly.
Figure it out. Roll over.
Yeah, there's no wrong way to float except for on your face.
Well, the first time that I tried it was in like North Spokane. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I think it honestly was before we'd even had kids. So it was pre 2019. So that must not have
Yeah.
been around at that point. But my friends in Salt Lake had been going, like one of my friends specifically had been going on a regular basis and was like
Uh-huh.
trying to describe it. And she was hilarious in how she described it. She's like, you're in this orb and it's just amazing. And there's lots of salt. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But then we found this one, the one up in North Spokane. And we got it as a gift. I think Mark and I, my husband and I got it as a Christmas gift and I loved it, but I'm like, I can't drive to North Spokane. And I've only, to be fair, come to see you once at this point. Cause I'm like, it is that also that carving out the time to be, this is going to
Mm-hmm.
be my thing. I want to make it happen. And I have two small children. So I'm working on
Yeah.
that on all facets of life.
Yep.
But honestly, I love too that you're by yourself. Like, I love a good practitioner. Don't get me wrong, I
Mm-hmm.
am one in some senses, but just that the whole experience is pretty much by
Yeah.
yourself, like that's very fun.
No, for real. I agree. I do have some people who like regularly float with their spouse, and they have just as like peaceful and rejuvenating of a float session as the next with by themselves. The only thing that you're taking away from the experience is just that possibility of being distracted. So
Yeah.
that's like turning on your brain for something because you're going to be mindful of their presence and or
Yeah.
being startled by their body parts, just like their toes or their hands if your hands float together. That's
Yeah.
really the only thing. I personally snore. So that was really awesome for Robbie to experience because I was like, I just want to float with you at least once. So I have a valid, relevant something I can contribute to that conversation for when people ask me
Yeah.
and if I liked it or not. And I loved it, but I fall asleep. So it was just a little rowdy for Robbie.
So are you still in a normal, I mean, there's no like exercise pods, right? They're like, it is just the normal one. The two of you are just like in there together.
No, so those are I think you floated in a standard float room. So that one is one of my standard float rooms. That's 4 feet wide.
Okay.
The flagship room is my third room, and that is 6 feet wide. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
much wider. It seems like it's much wider. 24 inches is a lot of space,
Yeah.
but they're all 8 feet long and they all have 7 foot tall ceilings.
I
So
see.
we whenever somebody wants to float with another person, it's always in the flagship room just to ensure
That's it. That
there's
was a dumb
proper amount of
question. Like,
space. Yeah.
there's no
No,
one. There's
absolutely
two.
never. No,
Like,
absolutely not.
like, get over.
No, for real. You just constantly be touching.
No, I'm curious about. I went to like a little women's gathering a while ago, and I don't know where they had their float experience, but there was like some fears coming up. They're like I didn't realize it was going to be pitch black and no noise. And I think you
Yeah.
had kind of touched on it that yours has, and you said the starlights. It's literally like looking up at the star if you were in like Alaska or something. It's just like,
Yeah.
this is amazing. And then
It's
there is like those
ridiculous.
blue ones on the tub. So it's not like they're even super bright, but they're bright enough where you're not like, where am I? But so are there
Mhm.
some ones that don't have lights or sound at all? Is that a thing?
Definitely. There's also some that don't have just don't have the starlights, but they have tub lights. Some pods, for example, there's so many different manufacturers and just different vessels that you can float in. There's kind of everything you can think of. So it just depends on what the owner who owns the spa wants, or maybe a deal they can get if they're just expanding opposed to just starting out their float business. What is available? What is
I see.
costly for them, and what are you okay not having if you are having to make like budget cut friendly decisions.
Yeah. Okay. Have you
So
had people come out stressed? I guess is the tactful way to ask that. Like, have
um
people had negative, I don't know, or is there legit fears that if someone is scared of X, Y, or Z or uncomfortable with X, Y, or Z, that you'd be like, maybe this isn't for you?
the only time I've recommended that people don't float are if they have a particular condition, like if they're having treatments done, for example, like cancer patients, if they're getting
Okay.
chemotherapy or radiation, that technically can actually excrete from your skin the medicine through your skin for 30 days, 30 to 45 days. And so if you're getting treatments or you're just recovering, you've had your last treatment, you just have to wait that period of time for your body to complete that process. And then you can float. That way it doesn't contaminate the water, because if it got in the water, then it could get into we just wouldn't want to risk that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then also there's the chance, just because of how intensive those treatments are on the body, of your skin being too sensitive to being that much salt water, kind of like, which I think is kind of gross, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Floating, it's like a full body exfoliation situation because of how much salt is in there. You can't really help yourself. If you literally rub any part of your body, you're definitely removing surface layers of skin, which is really gross, but they are clean. So you come out feeling a lot softer and stuff.
Detox too as well?
Yeah. Not everybody detoxes while they float, and maybe it's the amount of time, 60 minutes versus 90 minutes or 2 hours, but not everybody does, but you can.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm curious, I'm sorry, I'm like going all over the place. I send like organized questions to kind of direct our conversation, but then I'm like, sometimes I just go freestyle. I'm like, wait, you just said something super interesting. Well, I'm curious are there a couple of patients, obviously don't have to name names, but people that have come in and have had profound ahas, or like, holy cow, what an amazing experience. You helped me heal this, or you really helped me with that. I mean, obviously you've talked about a lot of the benefits, but any that really stand out for you?
I've had clients tell me that when they come in, if they're having any issues at home and stuff, and they're like trying to think about the hard conversation, essentially, because you can't ignore problems forever. They'll just persist, that they come to float just to think about it, or to like, am I really angry at something that makes sense? Make it make sense. Does this really bother me? Or is it just because I was hungry or exhausted or something like that, or overstimulated? Is that why I'm frustrated? Or is it actually affecting, like, this wasn't ethical, it hurts my morals, or it doesn't feel right, and you need to maybe just chew that up with your partner or your family member, friend, whatever it is. And so I've been told that they use it for that. And so I think that's kind of cool. It's like a personal therapy session with yourself.
Totally. Like get clarity almost. Right?
Yeah. Because once you're shut out from the world and you really have some time to think, you don't really have a choice but to sit with yourself and yourself. So another really cool experience that they shared with me was this couple that came in. They were married. They didn't really talk much about their past with each other, and that was just the way that it was. They never had any reason to, I guess, from what I understood. And when they started floating regularly, they were able to, for some reason, it just like felt right, I guess is the right word to say. And they started talking about their past traumas, and like, this is actually, I think, the way that I am because of this trauma or this experience, and that led me to this. And I really think I should start doing this to help combat and heal from this part of my life. And just floating opened them up on the inside to be more vulnerable with their partner. And so I thought that was a very cool.
Yeah, that's super powerful.
That would definitely be the two most profound things I have come across in the last 2 years.
I love that so much, because that's beyond the physical. Like, you're coming in, and maybe some people are coming in thinking it's a whole body experience, which I'm sure a lot of people are, but I'm sure there's people that are coming in being like, my physical body needs this to, like you said, support my joints or whatever's going on with them. But to see it as like, those are like total holistic experiences. Like, obviously their physical body's getting the benefit, but then to see that their whole body and then other relationships are also like getting all of these benefits. How cool. You just see them come out and they've got like this glow around them.
Yes. And so I absolutely love it, because I'm a people person. I've been working at least with people for my entire working life. And so I feel like I have a good energy sense of like, okay, this person's frustrated. This is how I'm going to approach the situation, or this person's really not understanding something. So I need to break this down a bit different, just because I can tell they learn or accept feedback or knowledge in this way. And this is going to be just a more effective way, which has also just come with past jobs and being in management and supervising. Like, you kind of have to learn how other people learn. Or if they're really, really angry about something, like, okay, let's like reel it in. Let's break it down. What happened? Like, how was your day? What happened before you came here? And you totally don't have to talk about it, but I just want to bring it down for a moment. I feel like
Yeah.
that's always something that people need, because the more you feel the fire, like take a moment just to
Right.
take just one deep breath. It can do
Yeah.
wonders. And so I totally just went off on a tangent, trying to remember what the original question was so I can actually answer it. What did you say?
What did I say? Um,
Oh, I think what I was trying to say was that if you don't obviously fill your own cup and you give it all to other people, you're going to be left with nothing. And obviously, how do you expect to do literally anything after that?
yeah.
And I think that goes to show, when you start doing things for yourself and prioritizing your own self-care and mental health, you're obviously going to elevate. Essentially, you're going to be happier, kinder, more patient, um, be more understanding, more compassionate, all the things that like really matter.
Yeah.
And once you'll gravitate towards people who are also like-minded like that, and then that will also, it'll, whatever, it's contagious or something like that.
Right.
I'd
Yeah.
say. I know
Totally.
contagious is kind of a gross word, but
No.
it travels like wildfire. Happiness and peace and kindness and wholesomeness. And the people who aren't in a space mentally to accept you where you're at, they'll probably be frustrated with you, tell you you're the selfish one, you're such a jerk for you can go float for an hour, but you can't come to my person's birthday party or whatever. Like, okay, if I
Right.
come to your birthday party, like, I'm just not going to be in the right. You don't need to explain
Right.
yourself. If you truly are just putting your own mental health and yourself first,
Yeah.
there's no explanation needed. And
Right.
clearly that person needs maybe a bit more time to themselves. The other person
Yeah.
that's fighting you so much, and
Right.
that's where boundaries are drawn when you actually start healing for real.
Yeah.
They're
No,
way
totally.
easier to keep up. It's really hard at first, but the
Yeah.
walls are easier to keep up, and you'll let through those who are on the same wavelength as you, and
Yeah. Law of
those who are trying to,
attraction, right? Like
yeah,
what you're putting
literally.
out, you
Yeah.
attract. Literally. It's like
Yes.
physics, people. It's physics.
I know it's science, so it has to be true.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, so powerful. So I'm curious, as you or how do people find you? Are people like getting referred to? Like, I heard of this thing called float therapy. Like, I want to come, or are they like intrigued, or are they just like Googling like healing modalities for whatever they're trying to accomplish? How are people finding you?
I'd say that answer is just all over the place, because I do ask people, or I try to remember to ask people during their orientations if it's the first time they had been in to my float spa, at least.
Yeah.
Some answers are like, I'm traveling, I'm visiting family for 3 weeks, and I float regularly back at home, and I like
Okay.
need to do this. Or like, I saw an ad on social media, or my friend tried it, or my husband's been begging me to try this because he loved it so much, or vice versa. And so I'd say most of it would be word of mouth,
Okay.
but I think that's a great thing. And
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize you guys were here. How long have you been here? And I'm like, technically 2019. So it's been a hot minute. And I think it's really cool that, I don't know, that it's just like not bam in your face, because it's like a direct reflection of what you get when you come and treat yourself to some
Yeah.
self, like, alone time. It's like, okay, I'm not posting on Facebook, okay, you guys, I'll see you in 1 hour. I am taking some time to myself and blah, 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 blah. Like, you're not building a giant billboard to let everybody know that you were taking care of yourself finally. It's
Right.
just like, oh no, this is something I felt. I don't need to announce it, and I don't need to explain myself.
Yeah.
And then they just appear. And so I
Yeah.
think that's a really cool, I'd say, metaphor.
Love that. Totally.
Yeah.
That so are you finding that people I have this question, which is like, how does it fit into Western lifestyles, right? Because the Western
Yes.
lifestyle is like, go, go, go to the doctor, go to the PT, go to the chiropractor, go to get a
Mhm.
massage. Like, I'm seeing you really like fitting in there with all of those. Like, yeah, you can get a massage or go see the chiropractor, but this is like a different modality to like support your body. So maybe if
Yeah.
you're not feeling an immediate need to be adjusted, like this is just another
Oh,
outlet
yeah.
for being held and giving yourself an hour plus to just be you.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it depends, because I feel like it would, honestly, it would fit in with Western lifestyles if it was a bandwagon or a trend to just hop on, to just
Yeah.
join the club.
Yeah.
And I feel like people are actually hopping on that bandwagon, especially
Yeah.
since COVID had, like, the shutdown has ended. Mental health has just been more on the forefront of everybody's mind,
Well
and
said.
on the news, it's at an all-time low.
Yeah.
And that shutdown really just like exposed that. Like, we don't get time off like this. I think people appreciated it. Obviously, it was very tragic, the other aspect of it, but the getting to be at home and, I guess free money. I don't know. That being sent to you and you not having to do anything, or no one expects you to be anywhere, and you don't have the overstimulating lifestyle that we're used to living. You're just going at your own pace,
Yeah.
waiting for the next game to come out so you can play a new board game. I played a lot of board games during the shutdown, but I would think of it as not necessarily fitting into the Western lifestyle outside of bandwagons and jumping on that, like the Stanley Cups, for example. Like, that's
Yeah.
definitely a bandwagon that a lot of
Yeah.
people, I don't get it, but mine's from Target. It was $23. It was not $150,000, because I'm very confused about that. That's I feel like it's going to be its own just self-care lifestyle. Like, there's another industry growing, and it's simply focusing on mental health and self-care.
That's actually, I love that point because that's exactly how it fits in. Even it's not just a fluffy, like, go and look after yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it can be, but at the same time, nah, like like we had
Yeah.
said before, like you're physically getting this benefit, you're holistically getting this whole, so it is a version of a treatment. Like, you're not seeing a practitioner, but you're, what was it, 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of Epsom salts? Like,
Yeah.
boom, right there. That's your practice. That's your therapy. That's like,
Mm-hmm.
and then the sensory deprivation on top of it. Like, there's so many layers of
Yeah.
healing that it can be built into anyone's lifestyle that is living in the noise. Oh wait, we all are living in the noise. So
Yeah.
this could become, and you have different packages for people to come at varying frequencies throughout the month, right? So it's like you can come, I'll let you explain that.
No, you're good. So I actually been doing a lot of price restructuring,
Okay.
just because I hadn't done that at all since I had taken the spa over. And I had finally, cleaned up, got myself out of a messy, like, mind space. Like, how do I do
Yeah.
this? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants and doing
Right.
my absolute best every day, just showing up. But now that I have found connections and fostered new relationships with other small business owners and, like, people who can actually help me grow or just, like, better understand something, I'm finally, like, got that help actually. And he's like, your pricing is all over the place. We're going to fix that today. So I have an introductory float package, and that's a 3 float package for $159. And so $59 is the rate of my membership, my monthly membership. And so that is a good introductory package for somebody who wants to
Yeah.
try it. Like, I don't know, nervous about signing up for the membership, but it's like you can still spread out that introductory package over the course of 3 months and kind of treat
Okay.
it like the
Nice.
membership, I guess, just to
Yeah.
see how it impacts your life. But or you
Right.
can use them all 3 in one week. It's totally up to you. But
Nice.
that's meant for one person, because I'd say it takes about 3 times for somebody to get made just in the right vibe when they come to the spa. Like, I come in, chit chat with Tori because she, like, has to know how we're doing. Use the restroom, get some water, ask any additional questions, or, like, maybe even run down through again a little bit of the orientation, square away how you want your session to look, and then you'll take your pre-float shower, and then they're on their own. And so when they're in there by themselves, they're thinking like, okay, this is what the petroleum jelly was for. This is what the earplugs was for. I have one body towel. I have one washcloth. Oh crap, I forgot to ask for a cup of water. I'm going to go ask Tori, so it
Yeah.
takes like 3 times to really know
Makes
exactly
sense.
how you want your whole experience to go,
Yeah.
when you aren't being interacting with me, I guess.
That makes sense. Okay, let's backtrack through that really quick
Okay.
about the actual experience, because I'm sure people, wait, am I wearing a swimsuit? How's the water going in my ears? Petroleum jelly, what's that for? I'll let you
Yeah.
dive into that a little bit so people can, like, have a little preview of what it is and they're not like, I don't know.
Yeah, so you show up. I make sure that, waivers are signed, and you use the restroom, grab some water, and then we go to your float room, or I give you, like, I point out a couple things in the spa just so you have a little quick baby tour. And then we go in your room. I explain just what they're doing in the first place. Like, this is float therapy. This is an ocean float room specifically, if you feel the need to go look that up at home. And these vessels are, 4 feet wide, the whole
Yeah.
whole shebang. And then I try to remember to ask, because some days I'm like giving orientations back to back to back to back to back, and I can't remember to ask all these questions. But I then do my best to remember to ask how you found out about float therapy, and if you've ever tried it before, and like, did you float in an ocean float room, or did you float in a pod? Like, did you do a dry float?
Yeah.
What did you do? Just to have a semblance for me about how familiar they are with the space, so I can kind of gauge their nervousness and anxiety, stuff like that, if there are any at all.
Yeah.
Following that, I start the orientation. So basically, I'll give one. Okay. So first, you'll take a pre-float shower, and then only using body wash and shampoo. And then once you're ready for your float to begin, you get in, shut the door, and it takes about 30 seconds for your tub lights to fade out. And if it's a standard session, we'll say it's a standard session, you'll have 10 minutes of starlights and music, 45 minutes of quiet and darkness, so that you can experience at least a little bit of that complete sensory deprivation. And then the last 5 minutes, the tub lights and music come back on. That's a 60-minute session. And then you'll get out, take a post-float shower. You can use all three of the products, the shampoo, body wash, and conditioner. And then on the outside of the room, you have one body towel, one washcloth, one floor towel, so you have something dry to step out onto after your post-float shower. Have makeup wipes, earplugs, and petroleum jelly. So the petroleum jelly is for any surface scrapes, paper cuts, hangnails, chapped lips, busted elbows, knees, stuff like that. So that, because salt and open wounds aren't friends.
Ouch.
Yeah, some people are like, oh, it's fine, I'll just like tough it out. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to do. I'm just saying it doesn't feel great for like at least a minute, especially if it's just a small one. But if your hands are all busted up, like some men, like construction workers, are working concrete or drywall, whatever it is, or heavy machinery, they're like, oh, it's fine, my hands are always messed up, so I can handle it. And they usually do just fine, but they're probably in that sort of constant discomfort with their hands anyway all the time. So I'm sure, it doesn't bother them that much. Anywho, back to the orientation. The silicone earplugs that I use, they're the brand Max. I get them off Amazon, but those help with the sound, so you don't hear like the shower or your feet or your hands splashing water, even gently. And then also, it doesn't allow any water or salt to go into your ears, like the important part of your ears, because we can clean all the other parts. And then they're rather large, and so I actually use one of the two, because it comes in a 2-pack, and rip that one in half, because my ears are also microscopic and I cannot fit large things in there. So I have to rip the one in half, and that's perfect for me. And it actually has been working great for a lot of my clients, because they just take the other one with them, keep it in their car console, their glove box, or their bag, and they can have it for the next float. So that way we're, using our resources and not wasting as much.
Yeah,
but
I love that. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's like, I'd say, a pretty wholesome orientation, with leaving out like the controls in the room, just explaining what the buttons do. But I'd say the other things are like the different types of session you can do. You don't have to do complete sensory deprivation. Obviously, you're going to reap the most benefits from that. But if you're not ready, let's just not go there. Like, we don't need to shoot for the stars and then set ourselves up for failure.
Yeah.
So a lot of first timers, if they have really bad anxiety, or they're afraid of the dark, which is a very, very normal thing, or they have tinnitus, that's another thing for those folks. I recommend, I'm like, we can leave the music on the whole time, because at least you're giving your body a rest. Like, that's incredible. That's just, you showed up today, you did that for you. That's going to have a lot of improvements for you internally right there. And then for people who are like afraid of the dark, you can leave the starlights on, because they're not that bright. And then if they're feeling up to it, I always suggest that they try turning them off at least once, just to see how it feels.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people fall asleep. Like, should they even be on? So just, follow your gut and find what feels good, and just do that. Don't force yourself to do anything. Some people do, and I'm like, to each their own. If you can handle that, you're good. People are like, I forced myself to stay in the whole time, and I'm like, okay, you don't have to do that.
This is not about force at all.
Yeah, just like, we're trying to just like float on the waves. Okay, just go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting because I had forgotten that. Like in the one in North Spokane, it was pods. So it was like you
Mhm.
were getting yourself into actually a tub and the lid came down. This one, as you said multiple times, and it only just clicked in
Mhm.
my brain, is it's like you're walking into a little room. It's like you said, the
Yeah.
ceilings are tall. It's not, which feels, I'm not insanely claustrophobic. Like it's more when I'm just
Mhm.
like zipped in a sleeping bag that I get claustrophobic. But the
Yeah.
pod has that moment of being like, am I going to feel claustrophobic when I get into it? Whereas your rooms, there's none of that because you're like, you could throw your arms in the ceiling and you could like
Yeah.
dance. Well, depending on your claustrophobia. But anyway,
Mhm.
sidebar.
No, no, absolutely. No, they're very spacious, and I think it's just really weird for somebody to conceptualize that. So the easiest comparison for the flagship room, especially because it's like so big,
Yeah.
a lot bigger than people, I'd say, imagine. Like, yeah, I know what 6 feet tall is. Like my husband's 6 foot tall, and okay, I know what 8 feet long. That's 2 feet taller than my husband. So, but it's really hard to just to put
Picture
it
it.
in, yeah, in your mind and really get a feel for what that is, because you can't be like, oh, okay, I can do that, just spreading your arms. It's like so much more than that.
Yeah,
So
no, for sure. For sure.
I'm like, if you have a king size bed, go and lay on it, and then imagine that the walls, like you have 4 walls around you, and then you just have a normal traditional door. There's no latch, no lock or anything like that. You can keep it
Yeah.
cracked even if you wanted to, just to give them some, because they're actually laying down like, okay, this is very large.
Yeah. And it's
You're not as big as you think.
yeah. Well said. So I'm gonna bounce into you keeping aligned and balanced in your life, which we both just talked about balance is a myth. But is there
Oh,
anything regarding the spa? You also call it a spa because you have other things in there other than just your float rooms, right? Don't you have
yes. I have an infrared dry sauna, and then I
oh,
have 2 zero gravity massage chairs.
nice. Okay. So
Yes.
there's other perks that you can and you latch them on as like add-ons, right? To your
Yeah, so if you have a membership, for example, just the monthly membership, you get one float a month and unlimited massage chair sessions. So if you're wanting to pair your float with a massage chair, you just have to schedule separately. They'll always be free. And then the sauna, you get a discount for the sauna as well. And
nice.
so that's a 30-minute session, but it just depends on how much time you have in a day. Not everybody
Yeah.
likes using the sauna.
Yeah.
And I have clients that they're like, oh, I tried floating. It wasn't my favorite. I prefer the sauna. And they actually both have a lot of similarities in regards to benefits. So that's really cool too.
Nice.
But it is nice because when people come in for the first time, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you had a sauna. I'm like, I sure do. Like I can, if you already go to your gym sauna or whatever, I've had people stop going to their gym saunas because I have one, and they
Yeah.
usually come to me after they go to the gym. And
I
so
see.
they're like, come go to the gym, do their float session, and then do the sauna afterwards, for example. So the fact that I can actually service more than just the one float session, because that's definitely the majority of the business I get. That just makes me happy too that I have those perks. They're not no stress. You don't have to do it, but it is there if you want to.
Well, and yours feels like a spa too. So I can see like leaving the gym where everyone's like, oh, I mean, like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to the sauna with Tori because of that feels calming. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's quieter, and it's just you in there. There's a door.
Yeah,
There's not no stranger who's gonna walk in and maybe interrupt your zen or something like that if you meditate in there or
nice.
something like that.
Nice. Awesome. So is there anything else regarding floating, sensory deprivation that I haven't asked you about that you want to touch on?
I think the only thing I would mention is that the Epsom salt, it's
Yeah.
magnesium sulfate technically.
Yeah. Ooh,
That's what the science words are for it.
yeah.
I'm super A plus in my grammar, so please excuse that. But essentially, the magnesium benefits for our bodies is incredible, and most of us are magnesium deficient for sure. I take magnesium supplement every night. Thrive is the brand, and it's like a powder, a
Yeah.
flavored
Nice.
powder, and I feel like the first night I took it, I was able to like fall asleep. It was so weird.
Nice,
Very strange.
amazing. Yeah, I
So
have
it
a
just
magnesium spray that I use because it
yeah.
is, I've like, we're all deprived in it. Like you said, you can't get enough magnesium.
Hmm.
So what a perk. Love that.
And then obviously we can absorb it through our skin. And when we're floating, like your body's obviously not going to like allow you to overdose or anything like that. You just absorb what you need.
Yeah,
And that's super fascinating too,
amazing.
just because our bodies are magic.
Yes.
But it can help if you like actually took a proper amount of magnesium or got enough of it from just your foods, floating, or taking supplements. I think it would really eliminate a lot of problems in the healthcare system. People who have high blood pressure get chronic migraines, bone health, anxiety.
Yeah.
There's so much that it could help just solve at the root of the problem, opposed to putting band-aids over symptoms of the root problem, which is like a lot of pills that we take, ibuprofen, Tylenol, prescription medications for sure. And so it's definitely made me rethink when I'm like, okay, do I need to take ibuprofen, or do I just like need to take a nap and rest or
Yes.
something?
Well
Like, do I
said.
just, is that what, or do I need to, if you're able to, of course, because this is expensive world, like go get a massage and have them focus on where I feel the most tightness or tension in my body, because
Yeah.
maybe just like letting go and allowing somebody to help you, because we
Yeah.
can't do it all alone. That could also get you leaps and bounds, and then take your magnesium supplements too on top of that, just to be sure. And then, but yeah, that's something I feel like that maybe not isn't talked about enough,
Yeah.
because we all in our area, we know we're all or vitamin D, we're deficient. We don't get any of it in this time of the year. And so taking supplements is, I think, really important. And I've been a strong advocate for it since I've started doing it, because if you want to improve, if you want something to not be there, like depression, just being what is it, like the blues, having the sad blues and during the
Yeah.
winter, then you have to do something about it.
Yes. And you
And
can.
yes, and you can. It's even if you're just like save up money, you did it. Maybe spread them out if it's a financial thing, just like take one every other day. But
Yeah.
sometimes I take two a day. Adjusting, I'm like, I'm feeling like I need some extra smiles in my day today. But obviously it's going to take time to get to that point where you can just be more mindful of your mood and everything, and just changing the narrative internally, so
Yeah.
that you have more good days and less bad days, and then the bad days will just
Yeah.
disappear, and then just
Totally.
bad circumstances will present themselves, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Love that. Love that. Love that. So I mean, it seems like you've got a lot of tips and tricks you have how old's Marilee now? 3?
Two,
Two.
almost 2.5. Oh my gosh. In a month and a half, she'll be 2.5. That's terrifying.
So you're a business owner, you're a mom, you're like all of the things. So you've got your magnesium, obviously your floats. Are there other like key things in your life that you've added that you're like, okay, yes, I am literally always moving. You work till late. Like the spa's open till what was it, 8, 9?
If my last floats that can be scheduled on Mondays and Thursdays, it's 8 p.m. So if that's the case, depending on the client, if they're ready to drive afterwards, I can leave as late as 10.
Enough said. So yes, you can come and float late, but be mindful that
Absolutely.
Tori also has to go home and go to bed and like look after.
Oh no, yeah.
Just kidding.
And I balanced it pretty good. I don't overwhelm myself as much anymore, even though my life is crazy busy. But it's worth it seeing people leave like just better, in a better space, you
I
know?
love that. Yeah. And it seems like, is boundaries one of those things for you? Like, yes, you have some late nights, but then you have other days where you're like, I'm hanging out with my daughter and this is awesome.
Yeah. Like last night, so a strong advocate for therapy, mental health. And
Yeah.
I went to therapy in the like late afternoon, and then went straight to the spa to float. And then I came home, literally walked in the door, I put my phone down. My daughter was like, okay, let's go. Hide and seek. And so we played hide and seek for like 30 minutes. And then we played in her room. We made whatever with all of her things. And
Yeah.
then until bedtime. And then I probably looked at my phone eventually last night. But Robbie and I were also like passed out at least by 10. It was like we're beat. So
There's like the best days.
yes, I feel like when you just, and on my way home too, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home. We're gonna have a great rest of the evening until Marilee's bedtime. Because I used to feel really guilty about floating after work, or floating on an off day, just because it took away time from Marilee and Robbie. But I'm like, okay, well, I'm important too. I
Yes, good for
I
you.
know Marilee's mental health and Robbie's mental health is very important to me. But if I don't have my mental health in order, then how am I of help to anyone?
Yes, exactly. Right. Like, what energy am I bringing into my house when I'm not? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yay. Awesome. Well, I I have my last question about just
Okay.
people that have inspired you. And I know like this one is a different question.
All over. Yeah.
But it seems like even when I came to Flow, it seems like you found this community of people that are like supporting you, even just with like the business tips and tricks, or just being in it with you. Or,
Mhm.
yeah, is there, I know you didn't want to say anyone in specifics, but do you want to add on to that at all?
Um, I always like to start like my big, massive mental breakdown last September 2023. I had enough of not like asking for help is probably one of the hardest things in the whole world for me for
Yeah,
some reason.
totally. Yeah.
Probably comes along with just being a woman and expected to be able to do it all.
Yeah. Touche. Yep.
So I finally had enough of it. I realized that I cannot do this by myself.
Yeah.
Who has ever accomplished anything in big at all by themselves with
Yeah.
absolutely no help? You never asked one person for help. What? That's literally just not, it doesn't exist. So
Right.
I went on our float group page and there's a ton of other float spa owners like all over the world. And I just typed in all of all of my emotions, and at the end I take constructive criticism pretty well. I do
Yeah.
theater, so I kind of have
Oh
to have
yeah.
some, but
Yeah.
I was like, I know, thank you for listening, first of all. Like, thank you if you got through this post. I appreciate you so much. I know that I need help. I don't know how I need help though, which is usually really a gateway to the solution for people. Like, okay, if you need help, what do you need help with? And I'm like, I don't know everything. I need some structure. I need somebody to give me some seriously constructive feedback. What can I do today or starting tomorrow that will improve my work life balance? Or
Yeah.
what are things that I just have to swallow and do it so that I cannot feel like this anymore? And the funniest one to me, I laughed out loud. Somebody commented and they're like, sounds like you need to float more. Right. And I did. I started floating every week, and I'm not joking. Obviously, it helped insanely. Going to therapy had been helping too, just because I'm like, there comes a point where true growth and true healing comes from you being sick of your own
Yes,
shiitake
right.
mushrooms. So once you're tired of yourself, like, okay, well, if I'm going to wake up every day in this mindset, that's obviously not what you want. I know what I want and I know what I'm going to do. You don't need to know how you're going to do it. You just need to set your intentions and then trust the process. And you
Yes.
can
Oh,
call
I
it
love
whatever you
that.
want, but I definitely have some serious gratitude towards the float community and all of the other float owners that completely understand, where I was, and if they
Right.
were there in the past, just sharing their own chicken nuggets. And I got an overwhelming amount of comments of people support saying like, we hear you. We're here for you. If you need anything, message me, email me. I'll send you this. I'll do that. Here's this person's contact. And yeah, I would definitely for sure that. And then my therapist, she's a gem. She's an absolute gem. And then just one of my personal friends, she listened to every single day of me complaining, every single day of me having a mental breakdown or anything like that. Like, I can't do this and I can't do that and blah 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 blah. And she always validated my feelings and was there for me along the ride. And so I really appreciate her from the bottom of my heart, because now that things are finally turning a corner and I can see now these characteristics in other people or flaws. Not, I don't know. We all have weak moments, and I
Right.
just had a really, 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 really long weak moment. And when I looked up and just started actually taking the hands, oh man, I'm tearing up.
Oh,
Like
I love
actually
it.
taking the hands to help me stand up,
Yeah.
it really turned a corner. So
Well, it
you
sounds
can't
like
do
it was
this
a
by yourself.
growth opportunity for you, right?
Yeah,
Like you said, we're not
absolutely.
meant to live by ourselves. We're not supposed to do it all. There's community and like there's so much heart and love and
Yeah.
camaraderie and support in that when you're like when you even say like I need help, like I'm struggling,
Yeah.
like the openness, suddenly you've taken down the wall of being like I have to do this myself, I can't have people see me struggle. Like the openness and
Mhm.
the expansion is so liberating for yourself, and being like I'm human, I'm figuring this out. It sounds like you've
Mhm.
just been through like this epic like life chapter transition into like a
Yeah.
stronger, more vibrant version of yourself that allows
Absolutely.
yourself to like be supported and be held, and probably bring stronger relationships, and people being like, yes, Torey, I've been wanting to help you for so long and you've been handing
Yeah.
all up to me, or whatever, right? Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Oh, so good. I'm so glad that you're on the up, that you found, I mean, I like to say that everything happens for a reason. So, right, like having
Mhm.
kids cracks us open, being an entrepreneur
Mhm.
cracks us open, like struggles in life that crack us open to things that we're like, no worries, I've got this, I will do this. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's a shiitake mushroom way to live. Like, I don't want
Yes.
that anymore. Like, oh, I love that. So good. Well,
Yeah.
that's a lovely note to end on. Torey,
Yes, absolutely.
you're awesome. I think
Thank you.
everybody should come and visit you. I want to come visit you more. Make it, and it's easy. So for people on I-90, you get off at 41, and it's like you buzz
Mhm.
up a block and a half, and it's like
Oh,
right
yeah.
there. So whether you're coming from Coeur d'Alene or wherever,
Or
like it's just
Rathra.
right off.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's just right off
Yeah.
41/90, depending which way you're coming from. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's lovely. Go visit her and chat with her and get a hug from her. Even better.
Oh my gosh, yes. I've definitely offered hugs to people when they come in and they're just like distraught. Like I can feel a lot. And so I'm like, do you want a hug? And mostly they say yes. And I love that for me. I'm like, thank you so much for accepting my love. I hope you have a beautiful float.
I love it. Yes, you are magnetizing. Yay.
Thank you. I try.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining me again today.
Thank you for asking me to be on this. This is, I know it took like 3rd time's a charm.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be. If you like this podcast, I want to invite you to coach with me. Let's ditch the autopilot living to slow down, tune in, reset, and redesign your life to glow from the inside out based on the beautiful being who you are, what matters to you, and how you want to dance through this life. I help you understand your self-sabotaging ways, program thinking, and tendencies to outsource your power, and reshape them to align with the true you for this chapter of your life. To join me in a complimentary coaching session, go to my website, www.gemmaputty.com. Sending all the love, light, and vibrancy. Until next time.